We're going to start though, because talking about medical things makes me more anxious. And so, yeah, so today, I guess, yeah. So as I said, this was supposed to be canceled. So I apologize if you read the Blackboard, thought we didn't have class, and then I updated it minutes before saying we did. I'll be posted on YouTube anyway, so it should be okay. But yeah, so this is kind of an extra, we basically covered the financial stuff I wanted to cover, and everything that I think is important is in that project. But this is kind of just an accessory add-on thing, basic insurance and investments, look, medical things. And yes, we'll talk about them. I don't think it'll take very long, but I guess it's already 10 after. So, and these are kind of just random, like I said, they're insurance investment. They're not in, if you're following the textbook, they don't have a corresponding section in the textbook. So this is, again, as I said, it's an accessory kind of add-on topic, nothing too important. Although it's good to know some of this stuff. All right. And most of you probably, I mean, Kelsey and Gary at the moment, but people watching online later, hopefully, this is stuff you'll probably know anyway. So insurance. So the premium is the amount you pay to purchase. So like that's just your monthly payments or biannually or once a year kind of thing. Most people don't have their insurance most people don't buy their insurance themselves anyway. Most people get it through their jobs, and so they don't really even think about paying, but your employer's taking money out. Or if you get it through the state, like I had gotten New York State insurance for the longest time, they will just pay it for you usually. A deductible, I don't never know if it's I or an A, so we'll say I. A deductible is the amount you are personally responsible for. So basically, and this will vary per plan, but like, is that better? I don't know. So like for instance, you might have $1,000 deductible, and in that case, you have to pay everything up to $1,000, and after that, then your insurance will work. And I've always thought deductibles were kind of weird. Like if I'm already paying a premium, shouldn't you just cover everything? I don't understand it. My brother-in-law has a good job, and it's like a good job. It's like for like an IT company or something. And he should have good insurance, but his deductible's huge. So he ended up in the hospital a while ago with like an infection or something. And he had to pay an enormous amount of money because his deductible was really high. And so up until that point, they wouldn't cover anything. And then a copay is the amount of money you pay every time you use the particular service. And this also confuses me. Like you go to the doctor and you pay $10 for a copay. Like why do you have to pay $10 for a copay? It doesn't make any sense. I've never understood these two things, but I guess it's just a way for insurance companies to make more money. But yeah, so those are just a few definitions, and we can use some examples. As I said, these are just kind of two small topics. And these, I should know, these work for anything. I don't know, not really copay per se. Copay, I think, is exclusively medical, but premium deductible, those will follow if you have home insurance or if you have, what's the other one? Car insurance. So same kind of thing for both of those. So in this example, for instance, we have a car insurance. As semi-annual premium, so semi-annual is twice a year, of $650, and carries a $1,000 deductible, and annual meaning yearly deductible. So basically, they don't cover anything until you hit $1,000. Right? In 1 year, unfortunately, you have 2 collision repair bills of 13 whatever and 17 whatever. What is your total out-of-pocket expenses for insurance and repairs for 1 year? And so this part is assuming that you have the insurance, right? So we're paying for the insurance. The next question will say, what will total expenses be if you did not have insurance? So we're going to kind of compare and see in this example if the insurance is worth it. I feel like it's usually worth it. So let's see, I'll use this calculator today because I mean Destiny's not here, but she loves this calculator. All right. So what we want to do is out-of-pocket expenses for insurance and repairs. So let's see. So for the insurance, maybe send to this. I pay twice a year, $650, right? And so this is for 1 year. So in 1 year, I pay $650 twice, $1,300, right? So I pay $1,300 for my premium. My spelling is atrocious today. I'm gonna blame it on the lack of blood. My premium. So Christy, if you're just joining us, I apologize. I just had to give blood for a thing, so it's okay. Premium, what did I say? 1,300. I'm a little off my rocker. And then now what you should do though is you say, oh, I have 1,320 and 1,700 in my costs. So I add those up. So I have 1,320 plus 1,700, and I don't know what that is. I guess I could probably think about it, but we're just gonna use a calculator. 1,320 plus 1,700, 3,020 bucks. Should probably put a dollar sign in front of that. All right, so so the cost of our repairs, is $3,020. Now, my deductible is $1,000. So what that means is that I have to pay $1,000. Insurance will cover everything after that. So I pay my premium plus 1,000. So that's just 2,300. And everything after that, $1,000 for my repairs. So like the other 2020, the other $2,020 of my repairs, the insurance company will pay. All right.
Oh, okay. So you're paying the 2,300.
Yeah, this is the deductible, and this is the premium.
Huh.
Yeah, so you pay the premium, and that kind of gets you into the insurance policy. Like that pays for it. Like that's your subscription. It's like Netflix. That's your subscription, and then the deductible is how much you have to pay for it to work. So everything under $1,000 they won't cover. So like if for instance, maybe you get a tiny dent in your hood, maybe you hit a deer and it causes a tiny dent in your hood, and you maybe it costs $500 for them to repair it. Well, the insurance won't cover it essentially because your deductible is $1,000. Now, if you hit 3 deers that year, and each time it's $500, then at the third deer they'll cover because the deductible is a yearly thing, so it adds up. It's like medical wise, you have like a maximum out of pocket. So if you're talking about medical bills, then if you hit your maximum out of pocket, then your insurance company will pay everything after that, just regardless, because that's your maximum out of pocket. So the deductible is kind of similar. I don't know what the difference is, if I'm going to be totally honest. I think it's just medical versus car insurance. All right. Anyway, no. So that's all we do. All right. Now, if our repairs were only 500, then I would just pay the 500. So it'd be 1,300 plus 500. So it would be 1,800 in that case. All right. And then, so as I said, the second part here, what would your total expenses be if you did not have insurance? So we don't pay the premium, but we have to pay the total cost of repairs. So it would just be 3,020 bucks. Right? So that's that. So, oh wait, I have a chat. You don't need to apologize for being late, Destiny. I posted that I was having class 2 minutes after I started class. So
my internet crashed. I have a class right before this, and my internet crashed. I went over to my grandparents' house, so I had to hurry up and drive home to get back onto class.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm glad you made it. But yeah, okay. So yeah, so 2,200 and then 3,000.
What page are we on?
We just on 2. So for the first one, so this is insurance and investments, and so we just talked about these 3 definitions first. A premium is what you pay. That's like your subscription to Netflix. A deductible is how much you have to pay for it to actually kick in. I don't know why deductibles exist. And then a copay is what you have to pay every time you go to like an office visit. Like I think mine was $10 last I checked. Might be 0. I think it's 10. They're usually small. I don't know why they exist either. You should just pay the premium and they should do everything, but that is life. All right, and then in this one we just covered, so his premium in this case was 1,300. His cost of repairs was 3,000 basically, and so his deductible was 1,000. So he had to just cover the premium and then $1,000. Everything after the 1,000, the insurance company covered, and then as I said, his cost was 3,020. So let's try another. This is healthcare related though. There we go. You choose two jobs, or you have a choice of two health insurance policies. And basically, we're just going to see the cost for each, just to play with the definitions. And if I feel like most people are familiar with these definitions because most people have health insurance. Uh, although I will say, New York State, the health insurance that you get, what is it, New York Essential Plan or something? It's phenomenal. Everything's zero, so you don't really need to worry about this. We each make like less than 20 grand or something. So in this first plan, the premium is 5,400. Deductible is 400 yearly. Premium, I'll assume that's yearly as well. And there are no copays. So you're kind of paying a lot in the premium. And what happens there is you pay a lot up front and your deductible is really low and there's no copays. So like ideally, if you could swing it, paying a plan with zero deductible and zero copays is really nice because it makes your life simple. But you know, a lot of times people can't afford high premiums, so it's like a balancing act. And so that's kind of the case here. So this one's high premium. This one is a low premium, $1,500 a year. I didn't state that. It should be yearly. The deductible is high. It's $2,000 a year. And the copay is $100 for ER visits, $30 for office visits, and the plan covers 80% of expenses after the deductible. So this is also stupid. Some plans are like this as well. And again, I don't understand why any of this is legal, but some plans only cover part of your expenses after the deductible. Like, so in this case here, you're paying $1,500 for the premium, you're paying $2,000 for the deductible. And then after that, they're still only covering 80%. It's absurd. But
Yeah,
again,
the way my health insurance works is you have to pay, I think it's like $500. And then for surgeries. And then after like a certain point, like they'll pay that gap in between. But after that gap, you pay the rest. So
yeah.
like what's the point of even having health insurance?
It's crazy. Although I think most do have maximum out of pockets. So like in this case here, like, I don't know if I didn't give you a max out of pocket here, but in this case, like if you had a max out of pocket, then like if you had like outrageous medical expenses, then you'd only have to pay up to your maximum out of pocket. And then after that, they would cover everything, I believe. But I think there are probably some plans that don't even have that. There's a huge variation in plans. Some of them have very minimal benefits. Some have huge, like this first one here, it covers everything after your deductible, which is only $400. But in this case here, we want to compare and contrast the two in this particular example. So I'm just going to draw a line, and we're gonna see. So and out of pocket expenses is, as I said, it's like how much you're physically paying, like you're taking out of your pocket to pay. So, and this is all in 1 year, and that's important because the deductible is based on a yearly premise. So you're paying that's your yearly amount that you're going to pay. Every year it resets to zero, right? So if this was over 2 years, the answer would be different. Anyway, you have an ER visit costing $3,500, a checkup for $300, and a CT scan for $700. So let's do the first plan. So all this is A, say this is B, and we'll say A is over here. All right. So the annual premium is $5,400. So we're just paying that, right? That's just what we're paying. We have to pay that every year. And we're finding our yearly expenses. So we'll include the premium. The deductible is $400. So we're going to pay that. All right. And then there are no copays, and it covers everything after the $400. So basically, in this example here, you have an ER visit costing $3,500, which really isn't that outrageous. I had an ER visit once costing like $2,000, $300, somewhere in that range. So this is a normal ER visit. And so that just kind of blows out your deductible, right? So this is more than $400. So right away, ignoring everything else, I'm paying $400 for my deductible, and everything else is free then. So that's it. That's all I pay. There's no copays, and that's it. It covers 100%. So that's it. So I just do, it's gonna be $5,800. All right. So for Plan A, it's just $5,800 flat, and that's what, again, if it's possible, if it's financially possible, getting a high premium kind of plan with with nice low deductibles and no copays, it's just simple. It makes your life simple, but it might not be beneficial. Like in this example, I think this is the better plan. Yeah, so for now, for plan B, it's more complicated, unfortunately. So we have 1,500 for the premium. All right, so again, that's just what we pay out of pocket for the subscription. The deductible is $2,000. And again, noting here, the ER visit alone is $3,500. So right away, I'm paying I'm paying $2,000. My deductible's gone. I'm paying it all. 2,000. Okay. And then copays are $100 for the ER. Our visit was to the ER, so we got that copay. Copay for ER. That's $100, I say? Yeah. All right. And then what else? We have a CT scan. So that's considered a radiology procedure. And so that's 300. CT scan. 300. Oh wait, I'm so sorry. $100 for ER and radiology. Sorry, that's 100, not 300. 300 is the cost of the procedure. Our copay though for it is $100 alone. And that's on a checkup, and the cost of a checkup is $30. So checkup. So these are our copays. All right.
Yeah, when I broke my ankle, my ER visit alone was over $1,000.
Yeah, they're expensive. I forgot. I had like I had all these things done for my ER visit. It was not a great experience, but yeah, it was like 2,000 something, which I thought was a bargain for all the stuff I had done. But
Yeah, when my grandparents were in the ER because they were in a car accident,
yeah,
they had my grandma. They had like run a CT scan, an MRI, like
yeah,
pretty much all of the tests they can, and it was ridiculous when we got the bill back.
I'm sure. Yeah, it's crazy.
You
Medical
usually have to
expenses.
stay overnight.
Oh, that's gonna mess you up too. Staying overnight. It's like talk about a ritzy hotel. It's it's not great. Yeah, no, medical expenses are no joke. So if you don't have insurance, you should definitely look into getting insurance. And again, like I noted, New York State has free insurance for people making under a certain amount. So we have that, if anything else. But anyway, this is all of our expenses. So we had those up. So let's see. So 1,500 plus 2,000 plus 100 plus 100 plus 30. So it's $3,730. Still expensive, but it's not as expensive as the other plan, right? But again, if you had the money, it's probably just a personal preference, but this seems so much easier. It is almost twice as much, but if you have like $6,000 to blow on health insurance, it's just so much nicer to not have to worry about
But
it.
on the flip side with this, though, say you happen to get in another accident, and
Yeah.
you have to do this 2 times or 3 times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, and I forgot about this too. The plan covers 80% of expenses after the deductible. Oops, I forgot that. So I didn't even talk about that. So we paid $2,000 for the deductible, and so our cost was $3,500. So shoot, let me get another sheet of paper here. No, I guess I'll use my notepad. Sorry about that. So yeah, maybe I don't want to confuse anyone. I'll just say 100%. All right. There you go. And that's what it'd be for that case. It's still less. I'll cover what it would be on another sheet if it was 80%. I just want to make it simple, right? So if it's 80% after deductible. So in this case, it's a little different. So we have to kind of go through a bit of work here. So basically what happens is that my costs are $3,500. I don't know why I can't see this calculator today. 3,500. Oops, 3,500. And then I have a checkup costing 300 and the CT costing 700. So it's gonna be 300 plus 700. All right, so my total cost, like if I was paying out of pocket without insurance, would be $4,500. And so you're still better in the second plan. But so basically I'm paying 2,000, right? So if it only paid 80% before I changed it, then my 2,000 would be my deductible. So I'd take that off my 4,500. So that's 2,500. And then it only pays 80% of that. So the share that I would pay would be 20%. So it would be times 0.2. So on top of all this here, I would pay another 500, right? So I'm going to simplify it to make it just 100 to make our lives easier. But if it was 80, you would have to add 500 to your costs as well. So it's even more close. And like Destiny was saying, this for plan A, you're all set after that. If you have any other issues, they're all covered without any other payment. Whereas for B, more issues, if you have more and more expenses, they'll add up pretty quick. And so again, low deductible is ideal. All right. So that's all for the insurance a little bit. These are just kind of, as I said, little add-ons. And now for investments, I don't know, I just grouped them together because they both had I in their name and they both weren't in the book. But for investments, we're kind of going a different tangent now. Any questions about insurance before I start this? All right. So for investments, we're going to talk about 3 kinds. Stocks. Right. I think most people know what stocks are, at least in some vague sense. I always think of railroads. Bonds. I think bonds are less known. And then money bank accounts, CDs. This is like, what are they called? I don't know, money, just money investments. Right. So these are things that most people just have this last one. Like if you have a checking account or a savings account, or if your grandparents are like mine and left you some CDs, this is what you have. We'll talk about CDs more in a second.
Are the bonds like what you would do when you would trade in money for the military when there was like World War I and II?
Yes. Yeah. So I think that's when they started actually. I don't know exactly the history. I think it was like FDR and like World War I or World War II, the Great Depression or something like that. And like the government needed money. So people would buy these bonds, basically giving the government money. And the government said, we'll promise to give you back your money in like 5 or 10 years with interest. And that's basically the idea of bonds. As we'll see, they're very low risk, but they're also very low yield. They have low interest rates because there's no risk really. You're going to get the money back, especially if you do it through the government. I don't know much about like corporation bonds, but I know government bonds are pretty standard, and they look cool. If you ever seen one, they're like, I don't have one in front of me, but they look like money, but they're not obviously. But they have like all these cool symbols, and it looks like money. But like the thing in them, it's weird, and they're kind of hard to get your cash back from. My grandmother left me one, and I had to mail it in with like this form filled out, and then like a month later they did a direct deposit into my checkings account. It was odd, but yeah. So bonds are, as we talked about too, they're hard to liquidize. They're hard to get your money back sometimes. Anyway, let's start with stocks though, because stocks are the simplest, I guess. And as most people know kind of what a stock is. So you buy 100 shares of a stock for $5.20 1 year ago. You sell it for $8.40 a share and pay a commission of 15 cents per share. So I don't know much about buying and selling stocks, but I think there's some times when you pay money to sell and buy. I don't know. Every time I've done a project, like in high school, I remember in high school economics that we had this stock project, and in this class I've done a stock project before, and in all those projects you always have to pay a commission on selling stock. So I don't know what that's from, but it must be a thing. Anyway, let's see how much money we made, right? So we bought 100 shares of the stock for $5.20, right? So we spent 100 times $5.20, right? And again, we can use our handy dandy calculator. 5.2 times 100, 520. You can also just realize that you shift the decimal place. And so we're gonna, whatever we get at the end, we're gonna subtract that off. And we sold them for $8.40. So sold for So it's going to be 100 times 840, which you can probably guess is 840. All right. So that's how much we sold them for. So about 300 bucks, right? What was it, 280? No, sorry, 320. And so, but we have this 15 cents per share. So commission. So it's 15 cents per share. We sold 100 shares. So again, with our calculator, 15. I could have done that before. 15. All right. So it's going to be 840. So we made 840, which is what we sold it for, minus the cost that we paid for, right? Because that we spent that money already, so we didn't make that money. So minus 520, and then minus this fee for selling, right? And if you know more about stocks, you probably know more about that than this I do. So 840 minus 520 minus 15, right? And so altogether, we made 305 bucks. Maybe it's because my light's off. Just a second. Seems better. All right. So 305 bucks is what we made on this stock investment. And yeah, so as I think I noted up here, stocks go up and down. They may lose value, they may gain value depending on the stock. That's the whole thing with the stock market. So in this case, we made money, but oftentimes you won't. So yeah. All right. So let's do some assorted examples. This one's with bonds. The next one's with CDs. All right. So a maturity date. Oh no, sorry. The coupon rate of a bond is the simple interest that the issuer promises to pay you. So as I said, like in the case of a government bond, you'll give the government like $1,000 and they'll say, we'll give you back your money in 5 years. And they'll also tell you some interest rate that they'll pay you on top of that. That's the whole point. Like you make some money in the end, and it's like an investment. And it's a way to keep your money safe too. Like you kind of can diversify your money in different ways. So you have like low risk things like bonds, and you can have high risk things like stocks. But in this case, the coupon rate for a US EE savings bond is 0.10%. If you purchase $10,000, a $10,000 EE savings bond and let it mature for 20 years, how much will you have at the end? Basically, your investment yield. So, and bonds are simple interest. So I think I noted that over here too. Yeah, you get simple interest. So remember what simple interest is. Simple interest is not compounding interest. In compounding interest, every compounding cycle, be it yearly, weekly, monthly, daily, the money that you get, as the percent of money you get, is added back in the account, and the next cycle's interest is computed based on the new higher value. But for simple interest, remember, it's just flat. Like they take some percent of your money that you gave them, and they give it to you in a check, or they deposit it in another account or something like that. So that's the way it is with bonds. They're just simple interest. So here, it's a $10,000 savings bond. And if you're familiar with bonds, at least US bonds, they had different like letter designations. Like this one, this is actually, I just Googled this morning. It's EE savings bond this is the current rate, I think. And $10,000 is the most you can buy every year of this particular savings bond. And they do different rates. The word mature here means basically you give them the money for a certain period of time. And at the end of that time, the bond is said to mature. So for instance, in this case here, maybe we buy we give them this $10,000 with the understanding that they'll give it back to us in 20 years. So it's a very long-term bond. So I think it depends on the bonds and it depends on the type of account, but oftentimes if you try to take the money back before the maturity date, you'll have a fine, like they'll take some money from your account as a result of you taking it earlier than you said you would, essentially. So here, let's suppose we give it to them for 20 years, right? And again, every year we get 0.10%, 0.10% simple interest, point. It's very tiny. So let's see. So 20 years. So I don't know if you remember the simple interest formula, but you can probably figure it out just intuitively. So every year I get 10,000 times 0.10. Again, it's so tiny, over 100, right? So yearly interest is that, right? So if we compute that, so 10,000 times 0.1 divided by 100. It's $10. It's unfortunately small. I don't know why it's so small. I never thought it was so small, but I guess that's wait, bonds are, I guess? I don't know. Anyway, and it's for 20 years. So this is our yearly interest. And since it's simple, there's no compounding interest. Like it doesn't go back in and make the interest bigger every year. It's just flat. So over 20 years, the simple interest is, so it's 20 times 10 bucks. So what is that, 200? $20. And so in the end, we just get our $10,000 and $200 on top of it. Scribble, scribble, scribble. 10,200. So that's a pretty poor investment. I mean, it's not a bad investment. You get your money back, but you only get $200. It's very bad. That interest rate's horrible. I don't know why it's so bad. I think it's yearly. Pretty sure it's yearly. I might have misread the website. Don't quote me on this for EE savings bonds, but this is the process that you'd use, whatever the rate is. All right, so let's try another type of account. So we've done something with stocks. We've talked a little bit about bonds. And the third one was just this kind of general money investment. And so M&T Bank has an interest rate of, again, oddly enough, 0.10% that is compounded daily, oddly enough, on their CDs. Oops, that's supposed to be a present. And if you open this PDF, I give you, this is a link to their CD information, and it's kind of interesting if you take a look. They tell you how their interest is computed. They tell you the rates. Obviously, you can put in your zip code and get the exact rates for like your area. And they just tell you different information about CDs. So it's, if you're interested, you can go and look more information up. But it's all stuff that we've done kind of like so far. So you could, it's all understandable, hopefully. So the question here is, how much would you get if you bought a 20-year CD at M&T instead of an EE bond? So it's kind of interesting because the interest rate, oddly enough, is the same. So let's just compare and see how much we'll get. Again, 20 years. And CDs, just like bonds, have a maturity date. And so when you create a CD, they'll ask you, they'll say like, how long do you want the CD to mature for? And so the longer you let it mature, the higher the interest rate you'll get is generally. They're always very low. But yeah, so you know, if you try to take it out before that maturity date, whatever you set it up as, you'll get fined some portion of the principal. So, you know, if you do set up a CD, make sure you don't want to see that money for as long as you put it in there for. Otherwise, you'll lose part of it. It's not a big part, but it's kind of annoying. So, so let's see. So we're going to put 10,000 in. So our P naught will be 10,000. That's our principal. Right. So, and again, I didn't know this actually before I looked it up, but they do it daily. So N is 365. And we're going to use the compounding interest formula. My APR is 0.10, I guess. And again, I believe, I have no way a financial expert, but I believe I'm interpreting that correctly. So if you go to the website and I misinterpreted it, I apologize. But I think the APR is 0.10%. And then Y is 20. All right, so we'll plug that all into our compounding interest formula. So P naught 1 plus R over N to the, what is it? N Y? And this is APR, sorry. All right, so let's see. So 10,000, 1 plus point, and this 0.1 is as a decimal. So as a decimal, it's gonna be even worse. I just can't believe how low it is. I never really thought about it. So 0.001. So that's what goes here. Over 365, it's gonna be very tiny. And then 365 times 20. Right? It's gonna be bad. Right. It might be more than 200 though. I can't make any guarantees. So let's see. So 0.001, it depresses me thinking about it. But I guess you don't invest. You won't generally you don't put money in CDs for the interest. You do it just to have like a diverse portfolio, I think they call it. 365. Oops. All right, so you get a horribly small number, +1. And then it's all to the 365 times 20. That's gonna blow it up a bit. So that's decent. And times 10,000. So you get 10,202 and 1 cent. So it's really not bad. I mean, it's it's $2 more than just getting the savings, this bond here. But again, the purpose, you get very little interest for both of these, but the purpose is that it's very low risk. With a stock, you don't know what can happen. You can totally lose all your money. With these two, there's government guarantees that you won't lose it. So, questions about these? All right. And so as I kind of talked about a little bit in those previous examples, there's 3 main considerations when you're talking about investments like this. So the first one is liquidity. So that is how easy is it to get your money back, like if you need it, you know. So like with a CD or a bond, like I said, some of them have maturity dates. So essentially, if I give M&T Bank $10,000 in a CD over 20 years, if I take it out before that 20 years is up, I have to pay a fine. They take a portion of my principal. I can still get my money back, but I'm not getting all of it. So those 2 are harder to withdraw. Stocks, I don't know how. I think they're more easy to. I think you can sell them quicker. Then there's no reason you can't sell them, but you might lose money because they're so fluid. But yeah, right. That's liquidity, and then bonds, the same kind of thing. Is the principal risk? That's just risk. I should just. Sometimes I fill in the blanks aren't very exciting. And the principal, remember, the principal is how much money you put up. So for bonds, for CDs, there's little risk because I think especially with CDs, everything's insured by the government. And same with government bonds, obviously. With things like stocks, there's no guarantee that you'll get your money back. You might put $10,000 in stocks, but then at the end, in 20 years, they might be worth nothing, and you might get $5 back. Like I don't know. It's difficult. On the other hand, you might invest in Apple 20 years ago and be a billionaire. So it's really hard to say. And then how much will you earn on your investment? So that's return. Can't spell today, right? So, you know, for things like CDs and bonds, you get little return. Like you don't get much money back. You put some money in, you get the same money out, give or take. It's safe there. With stocks, you get a big return generally if you do it right. You can also have a very bad return. So it's hard to say. And this is kind of what I was saying. So, for example, both CDs and bonds have high, what's the word? Low risk, right? Oh, and I guess here, taking money out of a CD or bond before it matures may result in fines, so they have low liquidity. Right, like I was saying, like they're guaranteed by the government, so they have low risk, but you can't take it out generally before the maturity date, so they have low liquidity. What is it? They're generally low. Oh, low return. And low, I think, I don't know what I meant here, so I'm just gonna scribble that out. Basically, the low risk, high liquidity, and low return. Stock prices go up and down, so they have high risk, but often high return. All right. Again, you might lose your money, but you might gain a lot of money. Right? Or really bad return. All right, that's the risk. Right. Any questions about these definitions? Liquidity, risk, return. You can also, you can probably call this yield. We've talked about annual percent yield, same kind of idea, how much you're getting back from your investment. So maybe I'll put that here, APY. Be a good thing to think about in terms of return. So let's, oh, this is my last example. Perfect. All right. So 1900, your great-great-great-grandfather Eli, I don't know why his name is Eli, invested $100 in stocks, bonds, and cash with annual average return of 6.4, 2, and 0.8 respectively. All right. And that's probably about, maybe bonds are probably lower, but stocks having the highest return is probably about right. So how much were Eli's investments worth in 2020? All right, so 1900. So how much they invested there for a long time, right? So the investment length was 2020 minus 1900, right? So 120 years. Right, so that's how long these investments were in their respective investments, in areas, things. So what we're going to do is we're just going to find how much each one became, like how much value they accrued over the 120 years with these respective interest rates based on what kind of stocks they are, or what kind of investments there. So for the stocks, they have an annual return of 6.4%. And that, I don't think I noted it. So I think the 6.4% there means the stock prices were going up 6.4% every year. So that's going to be, it's going to be compound. It depends how you read it. This is just this example problem. So there's no reason to, you could do it both ways. And for the bonds, that's simple interest, like we said. So that one's easier enough. And then for the cash, maybe it's like a CD or something. All right. So maybe it gets, we'll follow M&T's pattern here and do a daily compounded. All right. And so for the bonds, this will be simple interest. And then for the stocks, as I said, I don't know, it can go either way. I'm going to say it's compound. I'm going to say it's 6.4% increase every year. All right, so that's how we're going to do each one. These two are pretty standard. This one, I think you could argue. All right, but that's how we'll do it. So for the stocks, if I have $100 in the stocks and they go up 6.4% every year, then what you're doing is you start with $100. It's basically the compounding interest formula, but we're applying it to stocks, right? But the way you can think about it is it's $100, that's your principal, and that's all in some stocks. I don't know what it's in. I don't even know how many shares it is. It's just in the stocks. And then every year it goes up by 6.4%. So it's going to be basically 1 plus and then 0.064. So that's 6.4% increase every year. This is the initial, and so you just keep adding it on. And then it's for 120 years, all right? And these are annual average or annual returns. Oh, I guess this should be annually, not daily. All right, cool. All right, anyway, so that's what we should have. Again, depending on how you interpret the stock part of this question, you might have a different answer, but that's how I'll do it. So 1.064, and then all to the 120, it's gonna be quite large. It's huge, times 100. 170,000, just shy of 171,000. So I'll just say, let's see, 170,999.70. It's quite big. All right. For the bond, it's simple interest. So we're not going to have hardly anything. And again, that might be too much. The bond simple interest. So we're not going to have much of anything. Although 120 years is a decent amount of time, but it's only 2%. So the yearly interest will be, so it's going to be 2% of my $100 principal. So 100 times 2%. So that's just $2, right? So it's $2 every year. And so over 120 years, it's $240. So over 120 years, that is $240. So in the end, I get so 240 plus my principal, so 340. So, but you can really see why compounding interest is so nice. It also helps that it's 6.4% interest for the stock thing. All right, and then the CD is also going to be pretty lame. So the CD is annually compounding. So kind of like it's going to be the same formula we used here, actually. So it's going to be $100, 1 plus, and it's 2% or 0.8% this time. Because we 0.8 divided by 100. And then it's once a year, so it's just 1 times the length. So it's gonna be 120, which is the length times 1. And then let's see. So it's gonna be 0.8 divided by 100. Very tiny, plus 1, all to the 120. So even that's pretty good for, you know, having such a small amount of interest. And then times 100. So it's $260 and I don't know, 17 cents. Right. So clearly, this 6.4% is the best in this case. But this is not really a realistic situation, right? If the average return is 6.4%, then you'd have to rebuy those stocks. So like, you know, that's where the way compounding would work here is I'm supposing that he initially spent the $100 on the stocks, and then every year he takes the money he gets from the stocks, the 6.4%, adds it back in and buys more stock. So he keeps buying up the stock every year with all the money he gets. If you did it that way, you get 171,000. If you did it the other way, you just get simple interest. So I guess I can show you just to see in contrast. So if simple, you would do it just like we did here. So it would be 100 times 6.4, which is just 640, right? Oh, 6.4%, sorry. Right. And then you get that for 120 years. So it's not much at all. 120 times 640. So 768. So that would be your interest over 120 years if you didn't do it, if you just got the money back and it wasn't reinvested into the company, if you didn't buy more stocks every year. So overall, you'd have the 100 principal plus the simple interest. So 868. Right? So it just depends how you do it. And I don't know exactly what your great-great-great-grandfather Eli did, but you can compare and contrast the different ways that the money is. And yeah, and any questions? So again, it's really just a way to practice and play around with some of these formulas that we've learned in the past. But yeah, I mean, CDs are really common. So you might have a CD, you might not even know it or something. Bonds, not so much. My grandparents were really into bonds, so maybe yours are too. And then stocks, I don't have any stocks, but apparently if you have 401ks, a lot of those consist of stocks or something. I don't really know. Any questions? So as I said, kind of a short lecture today. And I think next, was it Tuesday today? And Thursday, I think I'll post, so I think we've covered the end of this material unit, all this financial stuff. And so where'd it go? I had our schedule somewhere. I never went. But I think we'll probably have I'll have another take-home test sometime coming up. So maybe we'll cover that on Thursday. Or maybe we'll go over it on Thursday together. And then I'll post it sometime either Thursday or Friday or Wednesday, somewhere in that range. All right. But any questions? So I want to make sure we have enough time for the last section. The last unit's kind of more interesting. It's on like statistics a little bit and like studies and understanding how to read and kind of interpret results involving like samples and stuff like that, sample biasing, kind of some fun topics. So I'll make sure we have time for that. But any questions at all?
You're still doing your office hours tonight, right?
Yeah, it's 7, right?
I think so.
Yeah, 7 to 8.
All right,
It's pretty good.
because I went to go do the project and I was like, I don't even know how to start this.
That's okay. Yeah, I'll be around 7 to 8. It's just make sure it's on my. I have 2 Zooms. The one is an office hour Zoom, so I'll go on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
pretty sure in the announcements it says like Zoom and then it says My Open Math. And then if you go up another one, it has the YouTube channel and then your office hours.
Yeah, it'll be in one of those. If you can't find it, so whenever someone logs or goes onto one of my Zooms, I get an email, so I'll see where you are. Either one, and I'll just log into that one. All right. Yeah. So any other questions?
I'll also probably be attending your office hours tonight. I'm also confused about the project too, so.
Sounds good. We can work through it a little.
I don't know how your office hours work, but can we like do it together?
Yeah,
Like
we
have
could.
like a second type class?
Yeah, we can kind of work through it just together and see how it works.
Hey, Matt.
Howdy.
Hey, I have a couple of questions too about the project because I'm in the same boat as the other 2 girls,
Yeah.
but I can't get on tonight because I have a mandatory nurses meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's due Friday. Is there like another day that we can get
Yeah.
together?
Are you free tomorrow at all?
Yes, all day pretty much.
Oh, sure. Let me see. I don't know what my schedule is like tomorrow. I have to figure out if I'm in quarantine proper. So I don't know. I have a note that says I am, but then my doctor didn't seem to think I had COVID, so we're gonna find out. I got to give her a call. But yeah, let's say, does any time work for you in particular?
Yeah, just email me when you
Okay,
and let me know what time works for you. So
sounds
Yeah,
good.
if you didn't get papers from the government saying you're in quarantine, then you're not in quarantine.
Well-
Because I actually just got out of quarantine today.
Oh,
Today
I
was my
haven't.
first official day out.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
I haven't.
because I've been in quarantine since the beginning of October.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah, my mom tested positive, so if you have any person in your household test positive, you have to wait their 2 weeks plus 2 weeks on top of that.
Wow, that's a long time.
But if you don't have papers from the government,
Yeah.
then you probably aren't in quarantine.
Well,
Because
that's
it will
good.
be this big list saying you are in quarantine till this date, and it
Mm.
like the act of whatever. This is why you're in quarantine. Yada yada yada.
Oh, okay.
It's like 4 pages long.
Oh, well, I don't have one of those. Maybe I'm not. Well, that's good.
Were you exposed to anybody?
No, but I had like flu symptoms, and so I went to go get checked out, and they gave me a test, and so they were gonna put me they told me not to go to work until the results came back. But I talked to like the nurse practitioner, and she was like, "Oh, you probably don't have it." And then she like sent me to the hospital where they told me you know what I mean? So like I don't really. It's hard to say.
For me working in a healthcare facility, I would just stay home as much as you can.
Yeah.
And if you have to go out, bring hand sanitizer and wear a mask.
Yeah, that's what I'll probably do. But yeah, so I'll see you guys at 7 then, and then Christy, I'll get back to you before then.
okay, thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
I'll see you
have a
guys.
good night, Matt.
You too. Ciao.